Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into Cisco Unified Communications and exploring how SIP call flows work in real-world environments. We'll cover internal and external call routing, key components like CUCM and cubes, and explain what happens behind the scenes when a VoIP call is made. Let's start with internal calls. When one IP phone calls another within the same organization. Phone A sends a SIP invite message to the CUCM, the call control server. CUCM checks the dial plan and routes the call to phone B. Phone B rings, and once it answers, CUCM finalizes the SIP signaling. At this point, Real-Time Transport Protocol, or RTP, carries the voice traffic directly between the phones. CUCM does not touch the media. It just sets up the call like a traffic cop directing cars, but not driving them. This diagram illustrates how SIP signaling flows through the CUCM while RTP, the actual voice stream, travels directly between the phones. This reduces latency and load on the CUCM, making the call more efficient. Now let's look at what happens when an internal user makes a call to the outside world. First, phone A sends a SIP invite to CUCM. Then the CUCM checks the dial plan and determines the call that needs to go out. It routes the call through a SIP trunk to the Cisco Unified Border Element, or cube. The cube processes the dial peers, validates the calls, and sends it to the SIP carrier, PSTN. Finally, the RTP media is established, and they may flow directly to the carrier, or it may go through the cube if extra services like NAT traversal or media recordings are required. You'll see here two possible RTP paths. Direct media path, where the RTP stream goes straight through the phone to the carrier, and anchor media path. The RTP is routed through the cube, typically when services like transcoding or security are needed. CUCM, or Cisco Unified Communications Manager, plays a central role in the system. It handles SIP call signaling, manages the dial plan, including route patterns and partitions, registers and authenticates devices, and controls call features like forwarding, voicemail, and conferencing. Think of the CUCM as the brain of the voice network. Cube, typically running on a Cisco ISR router, serves as the boundary between enterprise and service provider networks. It translates between SIP protocols like early offer and delayed offer, provides NAT traversal and security, matches dial peers for routing, and handles media services such as transcoding and fax pass-through. The cube is essential for interoperability and compliance with carrier requirements. It's critical to understand the difference between SIP and RTP. SIP signaling is like the envelope that starts and ends the conversation. It handles the call setup, modifications, and teardown, and is controlled by a CUCM. RTP media, on the other hand, is the conversation itself, the actual voice packets, and usually flows directly between endpoints. This separation is key design principle in VoIP. Here are some essential tools to help you diagnose call issues. RTMT, the real-time monitoring tool in CUCM, helps you pull logs and monitor device status. Cube debug commands like debug CCSIP messages or debug voice CCAP in-out show dial peer matches and SIP call progress. Wireshark is excellent for packet level analysis. You can filter by SIP or RTP and visualize the SIP ladder or RTP streams. Let's recap. CUCM handles all signaling but never carries voice. Internal calls use direct RTP between phones once CUCM finishes the signaling. External calls are routed through the cube, which may anchor media or pass it directly. Understanding this flow, especially the split between signaling and media, is essential for troubleshooting and configuring Cisco UC environments. And that wraps up our overview of Cisco Unified Communication call flow. I hope this helped clarify how SIP, CUCM, and Cube work together to manage internal and external voice calls. If you found this helpful, consider sharing it with your team or checking with future videos for more insight. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.